Welcome to Resolving Reality, an independent Irish media platform. This is video episode 10, and I interview Irish-American author Colin Flaherty about his extensive work covering racial crime and violence in the US. Nowadays, it's really important to support independent media, including independent Irish media, so make sure you subscribe to this channel, Resolving Reality, and for all our other profiles and platforms, visit our website, resolvingreality.com. Colin Flaherty, welcome to Resolving Reality. How are you today?
Happy to be here.
Great, thank you. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I really appreciate it, especially starting out with a new brand. It's good when people take the chance, really helps. So I'm aware of you for being an author of several books. White Girl Bleed a Lot, The Knockout Game, Don't Make the Black Kids Angry, of course, as well. So I think the first one out was White Girl Bleed a Lot, was October 2013. Why did you decide to get into this subject area? What motivated you to kind of go down this road with your writing?
Well, I thought I was out of the reporting racket. I was a reporter for a long time, won a lot of awards, wrote a lot of big stories. I wrote a story that got a black man out of prison. He was accused of trying to kill his white girlfriend. I showed it never happened. And the white girlfriend had tried to do the same thing to somebody else a year before. That was a big deal. But anyway, I thought I was out of the reporting racket. I came back to visit my brother. Next thing you know, he was a talk show host in Wilmington, Delaware. Next thing you know, we're doing this talk show together. I look at the news, and in a school in South Philadelphia, one day, 13 Asian kids were taken to the emergency room. Well, it took about 1 minute to figure out that's a black school, 90% black, a smattering of Asian kids. And it turns out those Asian kids have been bullied and victimized and traumatized and beaten every day for years. They kept going to the teachers, the principals, the superintendent, and they kept saying, the only thing they said was, we can't do anything and you have to learn how to get along with black people. And so I started asking other people we talked about it on the air, and I asked reporters in the newsroom, I said, what's up with that? That's weird that a bunch of black people go around doing that. They go, no, Colin, race had nothing to do with that. So that was really when not just the violence hit me, but the denial. So then I kind of started looking into it, kept myself open to it, writing about it, talking about it. And all of a sudden, I just started seeing it happen all over the country. I'm not saying it wasn't happening before. I'm just saying I started cluing in on it. Large-scale black mob violence, black-on-white crime, black-on-white hostility, wildly out of proportion on one hand. And on the other hand, reporters and public officials so eager to be in so much denial, deceit, and delusion about it. So I documented both. And the great thing about it is there was all this video out there. So it wasn't just, he said, she said. It's like, no, you said this happened, but here's what really happened with the video. So that's what so that's like my big niche over here in the colonies.
Wow. And I suppose because of the YouTube age and the smartphone age, things can be more easily documented, and it's easier to find that kind of evidence, isn't it? And, when we look at compared to other ethnic groups in the States, I mean, talking about black crime in particular, how does it rank compared to other ethnic groups like, South Americans, Asians, and whites, etc.?
Is that a trick question? It's like me asking you. It's like, hey, do you guys have anything over there? I think they call it beer.
Yeah. Guinness.
No, the black crime and violence is wildly out of proportion. And I don't even care if it's 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, 1,000 times, depending on the crime. It's off the charts out of proportion. And it's transparently easy and obvious to see that. But instead, we turn on the TV and radio and newspapers, and all we hear is that black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything. That's why we need reparations. That's why we need affirmative action. That's why we need to give black people 500 points on their scores above Asian kids going to the same school. It's just an enormous amount of this happening. And all of a sudden, now everybody's starting to blame it on white people. And so in my videos, we expose that. We call that the greatest lie of our generation, the hoax of black victimization and white racism. And that's what we do. We just keep documenting that over and over and over. We don't do a lot of theories. We don't do a lot of causes, little solutions. What we do is, hey, this just happened. And it's happening every day over and over.
Mm. And then what particular crimes are we talking about? Is this specifically violent crime or just all crimes in general?
It reminds me of that line from Marlon Brando, The Wild Bunch. Remember that? It's an old movie, but it was his first movie. He was in a motorcycle gang, And so they go up to some old person goes up to the Marlon Brando character and he says, "What are you rebelling against?" You remember the answer to that?
Remind me.
What do you got? That's the answer. So black violent crime, crimes against property and violent crime, wildly out of proportion, a black thing in this country.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then you brought up.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So I've spent a little time in England and maybe a little bit in Ireland, but I read the papers, try to keep up. I'm under the impression that in Ireland, like Europe, I won't say the rest of Europe, maybe you're not even a part of Europe, who knows? But I'm under the impression that in Ireland, England, and Europe, when they look at the states, they look at black people as people who are relentless victims of relentless white racism. And we're not doing anything every day. All we do around here is get a whip or a baseball bat, and we're constantly beating black people and keeping them down. And I mean, when I look at the voter approval that President Barack Obama had among Irish people, it's like, I think everybody's got a weird view that hasn't been here, what it's really like over here. And by the way, when tourists come over here with that point of view, that it's like, hey, I'm down with the cause of black people, so the black people will be down with me. Those are the people who get hurt really badly in places like New Orleans, Miami, places like that.
Wow, that's the difference. That's the difference between the narrative and the reality. And you're onto something there for sure. This neck of the woods, what we get a lot is any reference to the US. Well, it's constantly talking about Trump, of course, but then also the narrative that the cops are always using excessive force. That comes across quite a lot. And, it shouldn't surprise you that Ireland is another Western country, English speaking. We're dealing with some of the same political ideologies here as in the States, the ultra-leftism and the whole victim culture. So it fits the narrative.
The cops are just roaming the countryside, picking on black people for no reason whatsoever over here all the time. That's what I read in the newspapers.
Yeah. There's only the one side. So what's the official narrative saying over there then compared to the truth? When we look at even particular events that have happened, since you start working on this, what do they say? What's the kind of spiel that they normally wheel out after certain events happen?
This is every day. They don't, they might add a little bit more after certain events. But the spiel is that black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything, especially why a lot of black people are stopped, arrested, tried, convicted, sent to prison. They get out, they go back too early. This is all white racism, all white racism. It's called, that even has an academic name. What I just described to you is called critical race theory. Relentless white racism, relentless black victimization, no hope to escape it. So the only way to escape it is affirmative action, reparations, all these race conscious things that kind of make a villain out of you and out of me. Right now, as we make this broadcast, this podcast, there are cops in America sitting in classrooms learning about their implicit bias, learning about their subconscious bias against black people, because way too many black people get arrested. And in their mind, if there's any disparity between black people and white people in criminal justice, same as they say the same thing about schools, suspensions and expulsions. If there's any difference, there's only one way to explain that difference. That is white racism. And so and as a result, a lot of people are really heavily invested in this whole thing of black victimization and white racism. And that's why the cops I know, I get a lot of mail from cops I know right now, they're texting me, they're emailing me, they're taking pictures of the stuff on the board. They're saying, look at what's on the board. and it's every fairy tale about race you can imagine that they are now required to learn and to absorb if they want to keep their jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cops, they must be on the front line of dealing with all this bullshit, because they have these ideologies coming from higher up the structure of command or whatever, and they're the ones who have to deal with it in the street. I mean, they must be. Some of them surely must be noticing now, and things are getting crazier. That it's getting harder and harder for them to do their jobs in a balanced way without, the mob coming after them if they shoot someone or something like that happens.
It doesn't have to be a shooting. Just on the streets of Chicago, about 2 weeks ago, a cop saw somebody like weaving through traffic, pulled him over. A guy gets out of his car. This is in South Chicago, the black part of Chicago. Gets out of his car. When he gets out, all of a sudden, all these like drugs come spilling out of the car. All these plastic bags of heroin. Cops go, okay, hey, you're coming in. They grab him, put him on handcuffs. All of a sudden, the cops are surrounded by like 50 black people. They start threatening the cops. They say they're going to shoot the cops if they don't let that guy go. You hear it on the call the cop made to dispatch, going, "Hey, we need some help because they're threatening to kill us here." And the black people that surrounded him went in and grabbed that guy. He was still handcuffed, and they grabbed him. They took him from the cop, and he ran away, complete with handcuffs. So the amount of animosity between black people and cops, targeted at cops, is enormous. If a cop stops somebody for speeding, if they stop somebody for using drugs, 100%, I didn't say 99%, I said 100% of the time, they will hear, "You're only doing this because I'm black." And so what I call that, I say that one of my big buzzwords, or my big tagline is, crime is the new black entitlement.
Mm-hmm. I see. There's no, we brought up how the black community themselves respond to it, because how they view it is obviously a key part of the problem as well, because it's not in their interests really long term to kind of go along with this. Have you noticed, has there been anyone from the black community who've approached you and said, "Look, I agree with what you're saying here. I think you're telling the truth"?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't use words like black community because I don't really look at people as part of a community. I just look at people as like a person. And if some person puts their hand out to me in friendship, I will take it. If some other person walks up to me and says, "Colin, you're a bad person because you're white," I'm not going to take it. So I don't use words like black community. And I think this whole collectivism thing is part of the problem that a lot of black people have. They're waiting for the collective to kind of do for them that what they won't do for themselves. That's kind of a little Marxist screed there I put on. But yeah, I get email from black people all the time. And they, the black people who want to obey the law, the black people who want to just live like a normal American life with kids and a wife and a school, minus the crime, the violence, the excuses, the BS. That's a hard road for them to hoe. And and so they do it. And I'm happy that they do when they do. But at the same time, so the big question to me is, how prevalent is that attitude? Well, the fact is, Hillary Clinton, when she ran for president, 93% of the black people who voted for her. 93%. And so when you add up the number of people that are actively involved in the crime and violence lifestyle, then you add up the number of people who actively enable that by saying it's okay what you just did. They're only picking on it because they're black. That's a big number. That's a very big number.
Yeah. And you mentioned Hillary Clinton there. She doesn't give a toss about black people or the black community or anyone else. It's just the smoke and mirrors of politics. And, you brought in Marxism there. This is the same formula that they're wheeling out across the Western world with lots of different groups. Feminism goes into the same category too. When you set up one group as the eternal victims, then what happens is it creates an imbalance. But the victim group is never held responsible for their own actions. Well, not never, but as a group.
So you're seeing that in Ireland now. Is that right or not?
Well, we're seeing the feminist thing in Ireland, but ethnically, it's obviously not on the same level as the States
What
yet.
about the immigration thing? Is that something that got your attention over there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, Europe wide, that's a problem, and it's kind of increasingly becoming a problem in Ireland. But you have a lot of people who understand how serious this is, and you have a lot of others like you have in the States who are kind of their minds are riddled with the neo-Marxist attitude towards things. And the minute somebody gets hit with the victim label, you're not allowed to criticize them. They get preferential treatment, et cetera, et cetera.
Like I've seen a lot of. It seems like I get a lot of videos from Dublin, large scale black mob violence in schools, on the streets, things like that. I don't have any idea like how to put it in context. So that's why I was wondering, is that something that people there are aware of, that the immigrants aren't overly eager to fit into Irish society?
Yeah, well, it's exactly what's happening in the States as well with when we're talking about black violence, is that the system and the media will actively censor or not report events of that nature, and the general public don't catch on as fast as they should. I think that's what's happening here.
Well, that's why we need shows like this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And to give those alternate kind of perspectives on things. And I wanted to ask you as well about the whole, this is kind of slightly off track, but it is related to black culture. You know, the rap culture. I did an interview with Mark Devlin, an author, a while back about the music industry in particular and the rap industry as well. The whole advent of gangster rap as well in the early 90s. I think that's kind of contributed towards the whole the mob violence, the gang violence, and all that stuff. Surely that's part of it when you have these young people growing up thinking that being in gangs is cool, having guns is cool, and all that stuff. Do you think this is kind of a contributing factor somehow as well?
Why? Just because they glorify people who glorify guns, drugs, money, bitches, and murder? I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So we know that we see this every day, the enormous level of black on white hostility. So most white people in this country, they're constantly looking inside of themselves saying, man, do I have that one little spark of racism inside of me? If I do, I better call 911 and get the fire hoses in here and put it out. Black people are not having that discussion. They're very open and very honest about they're just not into white people that much. They don't like us. And where this attitude comes from, does it come from the music? I don't know. But it's a lot of places. Everybody's singing from the same sheet. Home, the parents, schools, the churches. People say, get the ministers involved. Say, where do you think they hear about this crap in the first place? The ministers are the ones talking about this racial resentment. Then we get the music. Everybody's on the same page. Black victimization, white racism, and we're really not that much into you. So, we're not going to really pay attention to your schools, your institutions. We don't give a damn about your institutions because all they ever did was hold the black man down. I was in Philadelphia a couple of months ago with somebody from Europe. So, and that's where they have all these revolutionary museums and whatnot, from the American Revolution. And so we were there at this little hall waiting for our little bus trip to go through Philly and see all these historic sites. While we were in this hall, there's like 20 statues of people who signed the Declaration of Independence, very famous people in this country. And there was a classroom of black people with a couple of adults and mostly kids, about 7th or 8th grade. And they were going around from statue to statue. And on the statue would be like, here's the story of, George Washington. He was a great guy, did this and this. The teachers would be telling him the real story about how he was a white racist and he sucked. And so the level of hostility, the gap between white people and black people in this country is enormous. And I don't know, I know that you're getting a lot of refugees from Africa. I don't know. Do people expect them to assimilate into African culture, or are you expected to assimilate into their culture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's a lot of polarization happening and a lot of divide happening in Ireland, like in other countries. We have, like I was saying, you have those groups who buy into this multicultural crap, and others who don't. And I think that those who don't believe in it. But the difference between Ireland and the States, obviously, is that we've got a different history and all of that, but it's kind of the same formula, but with
How many
slightly
people
different.
live in Ireland?
6.5 million, including the north. I think that's right, including Northern Ireland. So it's quite small population.
So it doesn't take that many immigrants into Ireland to have a big effect right away.
Yeah, exactly. And what's different as well about Ireland is that kind of the US is more of a multi-ethnic mix anyway, but here it's kind of managed to stay mostly Caucasian for quite a long time because it's different to the UK, different to the mainland Europe. But because of this multicultural, the pan-European agenda, you have massive amounts of refugees or migrants coming from Africa and the Middle East who are predominantly not Caucasian and predominantly Muslim as well. So you've got the racial element and the religious element. And you do have people who are naive enough to think that this is just going to all work out. Everything's going to be fine. And Dublin is already starting to show some of the signs of this.
That's what I was wondering.
Clash.
I think, for a long time in this country, I mean, I like immigrants, okay? I don't have any problem with legal immigrants. I like them, especially the ones that have skills. They take tests, they come here. I'm all good with that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But, it is weird though. We brought in hundreds of thousands of people from Somalia into the U.S. over the last 20 or 30 years. And basically they're not even in the least bit interested in assimilating. It's like the unemployment's like 80, 90%. They're on welfare. When they get here, the first thing they learn how to do is accuse people of being racist. It's just a bad business. And everybody's very aware now of everybody starting to vote in tribes. Black people vote for Democrats, the Hispanics by 90%. The Hispanics are like 70%. Even the Asians vote for Democrats 70%. White people are pretty much, we break it down, 60-40, something like that, Democrat versus Republican. But people are starting to see like this tribal thing. I don't know how that's good when, and our ideal is merit. Our ideal is individual achievement. All of a sudden we have people looking at us going, no, we're all going to start voting by tribe now. Okay, whatever. Hope that works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's happening in Sweden and Germany in particular are kind of further down the road in this multicultural plan, where you have the migrants coming in and will vote for people who will look after their interests. And the political class know that all they have to do is say, hey, I love people from X country or group, and they'll start pulling in all the votes. So it's the same shit everywhere.
Okay, so I understand that, in Germany, they say, yeah, we love people from Turkey or from Nigeria or Somalia. When people from America or people from Ireland, they want to go to Africa, are they like greet it with open arms and saying, yes, you can settle here. We'll give you lots of free stuff. We'll learn your language. Is that the way it works?
Well,
I've heard it work that way.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who travel into Africa to do charity work and stuff like that, but those who don't even do that, they are being brainwashed via the universities with this neo-Marxist crap. That we need to save the world. Look, the Irish were migrants too in the past, so now we need to do the same because that's equality. But the Marxists aren't known for understanding culture and how they're not compatible. So if you flood Europe with massive amounts of Muslims, for example, that will dominate the indigenous cultures, especially if everyone's gone all feminist or gone all, anger is wrong. It's all about equality and love and harmony. And you have the group coming in to the picture who don't buy into any of that shit, who will just roll over you. That's what's happening.
Are you trying to say that our Muslim brothers who make their way into Ireland are not practicing the religion of peace?
Yeah, I recently did an interview on Islam as well.
My favorite, the only thing all of us have to know about Islam, and people, by the way, people ask me, Colin, is there any relationship between the stuff you do documenting black violence wildly out of proportion and the denial and what's happening in Europe with the Muslim violence over there? Is there any relationship? Is there any similarities? I said, no, they're not similar. They're identical. And it's just weird how my favorite word in that culture is taqiyya, where a Muslim is allowed to lie to a non-Muslim person as long as it furthers a Muslim goal. So when they roll into your country, they go, yeah, we're going to be friends. We're going to learn your customs. We're going to eat, shepherd's pie or whatever they eat in Ireland. We're going to drink Guinness. That's just a big fat lie. They're not interested in being part of what you do. And you know what? If I'm wrong, if there's a lot of people in Muslims in Ireland who are adopting the Irish ways and like the Irish place, and they're not trying to turn it into like a little Muslim, Disneyland, I'd be happy to hear it, but I've never heard anybody say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you reach the tipping point. There's a certain percentage, 10% or whatever, of the population. If Muslims become 10%, it starts to kind of, then you start hearing demands for Sharia law. And unfortunately, with all this stuff, Colin, I remember the same thing happening in Australia when I lived there, and the UK as well. People don't realise this stuff is a problem till it's too late. And that's the magic of brainwashing. It won't wear off till it starts to affect them and their personal lives.
Have you ever been to Luton?
Yeah, a few times, at the airport, yeah.
So I spent a couple of weeks there for one crazy reason or another last year. I got to meet Tommy Robinson, by the way.
Oh, Tommy Robinson, yeah.
Let's talk about him if you want to in a minute. But anyway, Luton is just, one of my buddies grew up there. So we ended up in England. He wanted to go see the soccer teams. We stayed there, watched the soccer and this and that. There's like 60 mosques in Luton. Mm-hmm. And if you draw a line around a 1 mile circle around the stadium, around the pitch, the soccer pitch, they call it a soccer pitch. I don't even know.
Yeah, that works.
And it's just, everybody's just from Pakistan. They're all wearing Muslim garb, practicing the Muslim religion. They're not really that interested in being English or anything to do with that. Now, I was surprised when I was over there. I thought Tommy Robinson was going to be a more popular figure. And when I talked to people, more often than not, the reaction I got was they had kind of gave me the feeling that because Tommy Robinson didn't have the perfect BBC accent and he wasn't wearing the club tie, that they didn't really think he had much to say to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's they're having similar problems as well with the struggle for nationalism, basically. The struggle to take control of your own borders. And Tommy is starting to gather a big following. But the way I see it, Colin, is some people are just, the minute when they become brainwashed to look at someone like him as being a nationalist, right wing, he's a borderline Nazi and all that stuff. I don't really know if they can ever snap out of it. Some people get him, some people don't. Some people support him, some people don't, and they're having similar kind of struggles over there, I would say. Maybe with Brexit, if they ever pull it off, they'll at least getting away from Europe. You can control your own borders.
Isn't from my limited understanding over here, if they didn't have that massive immigration from third world countries into England, there would be no Brexit. I mean, that's the thing everybody's freaked out about. Is that right or not?
Yeah, I think Nigel Farage and some of the other nationalist politicians, that's how they kind of got their platform, and how they got momentum behind the idea of Brexit. People had enough of the European Union telling them what to do. And because there's as well, I lived in the UK for years. Certain cities like Birmingham, for example, are pretty much, they're not English Caucasian anymore. And I lived in London for 6 years as well. That's like the population of white English people is, I don't know, is it 40%, or it's been dropping quite a lot? The pressure is on to move out of the cities and to populate the suburbs, and the cities are getting taken over by migrants. So I think eventually they had enough of that and decided, right, we want to just cut ties from Brussels because we're tired of these fanatics telling us how to run our country. It's mental.
It's very strange. So you're in Dublin. This is for the benefit of my viewers who will watch this. You're in Dublin?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So tell me what people, are people in Dublin, are they okay with the immigration there, the potential more immigration and stuff like that?
There's some, because Ireland it's as bad as any other Western country, I think, in terms of the brainwashing, like I was talking about. We've got the SJW culture, and that's a big...
So what you're saying is that people are okay with it over there?
Well, some are, some aren't.
The people who run the newspapers, radio, TV.
the state is all super left, pro Europe. Well, no, that's not the real left, but the what we call left, the progressive types. They run the show, but there is a gathering movement of people who are against that and who want Ireland to be separate. And there's even an Ire-exit movement as well, gathering some traction as well, to try to just take control of the country again, kind of.
Should be interesting.
Looking at, in the States with well, of course, I've heard of Black Lives Matter. And as soon as I heard it, I knew straight away it's more of this neo-Marxist stuff. This group are victims, the slave trade, and they give XYZ reasons. But that's the only group I know about. And what are there any other groups who are kind of similar to that, and who else is involved with this whole movement to kind of hide the black crime thing? Universities, government, the usual kind of.
All the usual suspects. And I don't really I don't really spend a lot of time saying who's behind this or who's behind that. But I do focus on the media, and I do focus on how people report a story. Like yesterday, 2 nights ago in Chicago, there were 500 black people rampaging through downtown Chicago. They call it the Magnificent Mile. This is some of the most desirable and high-end retail shopping and residential places on the planet. The Magnificent Mile, right near the lake. Everybody, rich people love living there. Black people from the ghetto take the subway up, and they just rampage through this thing. And I did a video on it. You can catch my videos at minds.com/Colin Flaherty. I did a video on a podcast on it, showing how the networks that report on this, how the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics they go through to avoid telling us what everybody in Chicago knows, apparently, except for the reporters, that every single person involved in that violence and mob action was black. And what's weird is, these are newspapers that are intensely race conscious. You pick up a piece of Chicago media, TV, radio, newspaper, right, whatever. You can read every day about black churches, black schools, black colleges, black politicians, black athletes, black whatever. But when it comes time to having 500 black people rampage through Chicago, and it's happened 3 times in the last month, and it's happened a dozen times in the last year, I've documented every one of them. When it comes time to saying, well, what's up with all those black people attacking white people, destroying property, attacking police? What's up with that? In Chicago, they look at you and they say, Colin, I'm colorblind. And so here's the thing, though. I just get a sense. It's not just because I'm doing it, but because it's obvious. I get a sense a lot of people in Chicago and everywhere else are seeing this, and they're just going, hey, that person's not telling me the truth. They're just not being straight. What's happening in downtown Chicago? They're just not. I know they're not. And if they're not being straight about that, are they lying to me about anything else?
Exactly. It's like this, like all over the Western world, there's this, they're desperately trying to keep pushing this narrative. And I think that it's almost like the truth is on this side, and the best way they think they can deal with it is by creating a narrative that's the total opposite.
I tell you what, okay, that's a fact. So you and I are sitting here going, everything they say is 180 degrees wrong, just about. All we can do is just keep showing that. That's really the important thing for us to do, is show it, and not just talk about it. That's why I do a lot of videos. It's like, I'm not just talking, I'm showing who was on the streets of Chicago 2 nights ago. Last night in Philadelphia, a couple hundred black people rampaged through a carnival, closed it down, a fundraising carnival for a fire department. They shut it down. They not only shut it down last night, they said, we're shutting it down forever. And they just wouldn't say who it was and what it means. They wouldn't say that, as I've documented, that we've had over 100 of these carnivals close because of black mob violence. The same newscast, there's an old man, 70 years old. This is on video. An old man in a little store. There's a black guy kind of like prowling around the store. Next thing you know, he comes over and he punches the old 70-year-old dude in the face, knocks him out. He's on the ground. And the reporter comes out and goes, boy, this is a tough one. We don't have any idea what just happened here. when the fact is, it's very easy to identify what happened there. This black on white violence, it's not something that's like marginally different than white on black violence. It's not like 1%, 2% difference. No, it's 5 times, 10 times, 1,000 times different. And we just don't see white people going to black people and doing that in a store. We just don't. But you would expect us to see it because, I mean, if you listen to the American media, then there's a lot of white racism. Apparently, white people really hate black people in this country. And if that were true, we'd expect to see white people creating violence on black people when we don't. What we see is the opposite.
Yeah. Maybe it is, like we're saying, it's the 180 inversion, that the best way of hiding the truth is to just peddle lies that are identically the opposite. So then when someone who has been a bit brainwashed and believes the media, when they encounter the truth, it's so the opposite of what they thought that they just can't accept it. They say, no, but this isn't right. Black people have been oppressed with slavery and the system doesn't treat them that well. I refuse to believe that they can act this way. And, maybe that's what it is. They've been sent down one path.
So it's two things. What you just said, it's funny. First they'll say, it's not happening. And then they'll explain why it is happening. Black people are not attacking white people, but they are because of 4 million years of white oppression. So it's weird how they could say that same thing in the same breath, but they do it all the time. So there's always 3 excuses. 1, it's not happening. There's too much video for that to fly anymore. 2, white people do it too. No video on that. 3, white people deserve it. There's a lot of video on that. I mean, when I think of South Africa, I mean, the lesson of South Africa for you and for me is that the world has turned its back on South Africa because the world thinks the white people in South Africa deserve whatever they get.
Exactly. Yep.
And so we have black people attacking white people here and nobody makes a big deal about it because on some level, there's a lot of people going, well, they kind of deserve it, don't they? I mean, they have been oppressing black people for 4 billion years.
Yeah. Yeah, the South Africa thing is really interesting for the viewers. It's a really interesting part of the puzzle to kind of help you catch on to what's happening in the world because exactly what you said, and I've met people who actually have that attitude. They'll say, oh, well, because of the slavery in Africa and what the British or French Empire did and all this stuff. But South Africa is complex. It's not as black and white as that. And the Boer people, the South African people don't deserve, pretty much genocide coming from the state.
But that's happening. That's happening in the States. I don't have an Irish context for this, but pretty soon you're going to have a lot more people in your country who are really convinced that somehow when you let them into your country to let them live and go to school and to give them all sorts of free stuff, they have been maltreated. And they're going to blame you for that. Yeah, I'm looking at you for that. You, right
Me personally, yeah.
And they're going to say you did it. And what's our defense? You're a racist. What's our defense? I'm not a racist. That's all. All we have is in this country, conservatives and Republicans get accused of this every day. And all they have is like, I'm not a racist. I did this, I did that. I'm not a racist. And that's so ineffectual, so powerless. The real defense is, listen, it's not white on black hostility and violence and prejudice. It's the other way around. Black people are not the victims in this country. They are the predators. They are the one creating the crime and violence. Like here, and here. That's why on my stuff, I think one of the reasons I found kind of a big audience. A lot of people watch my videos. They read my stuff. It's because I don't do a lot of, right now, I'm doing a lot more explaining than I normally do. It's usually just, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's everything is part of a pattern. Like the carnivals. I've documented over 100 carnivals that closed because of black violence. Documented thousands of cases I called the knockout game. Black people attacking white people with one punch to knock them out. Wrote a book about that. I mean, I made an hour-long video of nothing but black people just attacking white people on video. Boom, boom, boom. It's like hitting a speed bag. Boom, 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 boom. So I find that, if we're going to be the ones challenging the dominant narrative, we have to use really powerful tools. That is facts and truth. lot heavy on facts and truth, light on big picture, big world explanations.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, to deal with, because the amount of bullshit coming from the system is so intense and so relentless that maybe we don't really have the time. It's like, you're trying to reach people that you need to shout to get the message across and all that.
Well, we have to be, you have to shout, but we have to keep saying the same, you have to keep showing over and over and over and over. Bam, bam, just keep chipping away. Man, it's such a powerful thing they've built, where they really built shells around themselves where new information can't get in. I mean, it's like these TV people and newspaper people, they kind of know on some level that black crime and violence is a huge problem in this country. They know it because that's how they live. When they go home at night, they're not going home to live near a bunch of black people in the ghetto. They're going home to a guarded community or guarded condo, the 20th floor of a building. Mm-hmm. And when they go out for dinner at night, nobody's saying, hey, let's go to the new barbecue place down in Southeast Washington, D.C., which is the black neighborhood. And so on one level, they can deny it, but on another level, their lives are a testimony to even what they say is not true.
Well, speaking of the media, they, I know America is a big place and you've got so many states and, the different ways of doing things, but then you've got the government overall. And I know that the mainstream media will generally not, entertain someone like you. It's more up to us, the alternative kind of media. But have you had any connections or interactions with people from the mainstream who kind of support you on the side?
Yeah, it's funny. I get a lot of retired reporters, but my interaction with their main reporters, like the New York Times, I've had the same reaction with the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Atlantic, and other places like that. Like I'll be in New York and they'll say, "Hey, Colin, we want to come and we want to meet this, wonderkind of the right wing or whatever they want to call me." And when they meet me, and I'm not missing teeth and I don't have a piece of straw sticking out of my side of my lip, and I make it kind of clear right off the bat that, you're a reporter. I spent my life as a reporter. One of us has a lot of notches on their belt, and it's not you. And when they realize I'm not going to be their little fool, and I have a lot of stuff in my fingertips I could show them, they just don't do the story. CNN, lots of places. Mm-hmm. But I don't care. I decided a long time ago I'm just going to build my own audience. So I use email, I use Twitter, I use video, Facebook. I get kicked off YouTube. Here's the thing. I got kicked off of YouTube. Now I have like 10 people posting my videos on YouTube. And I'm getting more action on YouTube than I ever got before. And I was getting a lot of action on YouTube before. And so, it's hard to, my followers, they just don't want to see this stuff shut down. And they're just not going to let it be shut down. So I do a podcast now. I'll make sure people see this. But once you see it, once you hear it, you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm. What is by the way, I was trying to find, doing a bit of research, trying to watch some of your stuff on YouTube. And I did notice other people were putting your videos up there. But what is your dedicated channel? Do you have one now, or is it?
So I post my video. No, I don't have a YouTube channel. I've been kicked off 5 times.
Oh, okay.
And so after the 5th time, I was like, you know what? I don't feel like starting from scratch every time, because, you build up an audience, 60, 70, 100,000 subscribers. And all of a sudden you open your computer and you're gone.
You pull the rug out.
Yeah. And there's no appeal. There's no appeal. It's funny. They say, my favorite thing on YouTube is when they say, okay, if you think this is an error, here, put a message in this box. And it's like, you can't it's like one of those, it's almost about less than the size of a tweet, right? You're going, okay, here's why you should reinstate me. Then you hit the submit button and it won't let you submit the message. So, but again, it's like, I'm not going to sit around waiting for these 23-year-old kids with purple hair who work at Facebook or at YouTube to figure this out. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to develop my own audience and keep talking to them. And there's a lot of people that are really, 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 really kind of like, this is important to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. You just got to sidestep the the regular channels and go somewhere, independent with it and everything, and get things out online. Who are the better ones in the States then, who've kind of supported you so far in this and given you a platform, the better YouTube creators and stuff like that?
There's so many of them. I think one's called The Great Dolomite. Just pop Colin Flaherty into YouTube and you'll see all the different creators up there. CF Fan, The Great Dolomite, Jack Blackster, Net Hoax. There's a lot of them.
Do you think that with the books you've done now, I mean, looking at when they came out, you pretty much did one every year. Well, actually, Don't Make the Black Kids Angry came out 5 months after the Knockout Game book, I think. And so that's like more than one a year. Do you think you're kind of written out now with this subject matter?
No. I got 2 books in the can. Here's the thing. So I do a lot of videos, and now I'm doing a podcast. So now it's just a time thing. But I noticed these videos or just like shots of adrenaline into the pulse of the country. The books are good. I'm working on. I got two books now that are finished. I just have to sit down and just put them together. One is on my 25 favorite hoaxes, racial hoaxes, where a black person said something bad happened to them. Everybody believed it. Turned out to be just a complete fake, like the Jussie Smollett thing we just had. Mm-hmm. My other one is. I got hundreds and hundreds of letters, emails from people who have personal experiences with black violence in their lives, in schools, in their homes, their churches. So I'm going to put out a book called "It's Not Our Fault You Can't Fight," which is what in Philadelphia there was a large group of black people rampaging through downtown Philadelphia. They see this white businessman, so they can go across the street. They're beating the hell out of him. He's on the ground. And all of a sudden he looks up, he goes, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" Everybody's laughing at him. There's always laughing. They're laughing at him. And one of them stops kicking and beating him long enough to say, "It's not our fault. You can't fight." And so there's a lot of people with a personal experience with black violence in their lives and black crime, but it's so traumatizing to them. They don't really know. Some people think, maybe it was just me. That's not really something that happens all over the place, is it? What I'm saying is, yeah, sure is.
What are the main kind of areas in the States where this is a problem then? Because I know that, God, whenever I see any sort of American media outlets at all, and even on YouTube as well, there's always constant talk about race. It seems to be one of the dominant discussions constantly about race. And I thought maybe, is it, which areas is this a problem, and why is it that there isn't more segregation, if that makes sense? If white people feel there's a problem with crime in black areas, why is there any sort of interaction at all, kind of?
What's interesting is I just got a book the other day from the 60s. There was these big race riots in this country, and the book was kind of just a collection of clippings of contemporary accounts. And everybody had the same solution, which is, oh yeah, we have to integrate black people into the society, give them jobs, give them public, and so we can all just be happy all together. That's not the way it is today. Black people no longer believe that being exposed to white people is going to improve their lives. Just the opposite. They are the ones stepping back. They are the ones saying, "Hey, we're not really that into you. We don't want to go to your clubs. We don't want to listen to your music. We don't want to dress in your clothes. We don't want to speak in your language. We don't want to learn your crap in our schools. We don't want, so they're the ones pulling back. They're the ones saying, we just want to have our own thing here. And if every once in a while you just give us a bunch of free stuff, we'll be cool because you owe it to us." And so I don't even do stuff that much stuff in the places like Detroit or Chicago or New York, Baltimore, Washington. That's too easy. What I show is that this black violence and denial is happening all over the country, not just in the big places, but in the small places. Springfield, Illinois, San Antonio, El Paso, St. Louis, Kentucky, whatever. Places you might not expect it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that, well, in theory, would help to drive the point home somewhat. Just to try to reach some people and say, look, this isn't to do about numbers necessarily. This is coming from the group in particular, and this can happen anywhere.
And every one of my videos is a challenge. because the challenge is, listen, if white people are doing this too, can't you just show me? Can't you send us videos of it? So last night, I got this email this morning from a cop. I won't say where. I don't want to blow his cover. He was he was doing off-duty work at a rap hip-hop concert, a guy of some star, but it was in a white area. Just about everybody there was white. He said, Colin, I was hoping to send you some videos of white people do it too, because in a rap hip-hop concert where there are black people there, it's pretty much a 100% chance. I didn't say 99. I didn't say almost always. I didn't give any fudge or wiggle there. It's a 100% chance there's going to be some violence there, sometimes really nasty violence. And this cop was telling me on the way in, it was like these kids were going to church. Everybody was polite. They just walked in, took their seats. You know, when the guy started rapping about guns, drugs, money, bitches, and murder, they all stood up and clapped and waved their hands. When the show was over, lights came on, they orderly just walked out the door. No fights, no drama, no nothing. I don't know what that means, but there it is.
Yeah.
And if it's not, and if what I'm saying isn't true, I get a lot of people watch my videos. A lot of black people, and I get a lot when they come against us. It's always, well, Colin, white people do it too. We're just begging him, show me, just show me where white people are doing this too. Show me the white riots. If you show me one, I'll show you 1,000 black. But even so, you pick up the newspaper, radio, and all you hear about white racism, black victimization, as if it's a fact when it's the greatest lie of our generation.
Yeah, and I think the more and more people are indoctrinated into this equality thing, the universities here, I'm sure it's the same in the States, are just pumping out so many social justice warriors who they literally see all groups as equal. And the more you think that way, the less you can accept any sort of differences or divergence from that theory at all. And they automatically think, oh, well, if there's someone, black people doing it, well, then there must be a white equivalent or a Mexican or Asian equivalent. And that's how they see the world. They're not able to see that things aren't equal. I think that's at the core here. And a lot of the media personality types as well driving the narratives, they went to university too. And I know that journalism and stuff like that, it's not really the typical Marxist thing, but that kind of ideology, I think, has kind of seeped into a lot of the institutions in the Western world, and it's having a bigger impact than maybe most can see, I think.
Let's talk about the universities, at least in this country, for a minute. So, and all the universities, especially the elite universities, they are desperate for black students. They just can't get black students to go to their school. And so they can't get in so they lower the standard, like Harvard. They'll lower the bar for black students, and they'll give black students an big edge when it comes to test scores and other things. But that's only the beginning, right? So you're a black person, you get into like Michelle Obama, she got into Princeton as an undergrad. Mm-hmm. So when you go to Princeton and you're not really smart enough to be there, you're only going to have a couple choices. One, go take the English and the math and the science like everybody else and get your butt kicked, and you're going to flunk out of there in a big hurry. Two, take sociology or black studies or African-American studies, where the answer to every question is the same. No matter what they ask you, the answer is white racism, black victimization. That's what Michelle Obama did. That's how she got out of Princeton. So all of a sudden you have all these black people that maybe could get a good education somewhere, not Princeton, where they could learn something useful to do with their lives, learn something where they could actually be productive. They come out of these universities with degrees in black studies, which is basically a degree in racial resentment. And it's just as bad as you can imagine. I mean, then all of a sudden somebody gets hired, and they get hired maybe in a big organization, and all of a sudden this person has a degree in racial resentment. They kind of make it their job to go around accusing everybody of racism. And there was a story in, what was it? It was either Harvard Law or Yale Law. The woman, I think she was on the law. This is like a couple months ago. She was like on the law review. She wrote for the Yale school newspaper, a black woman. And she just wrote a story saying, listen, for the next thing, she said, these white people on campus don't know I've been observing them. And I'm going to wait until they become famous. Then I'm going to go testify, just like the woman testified against our Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. I'm going to go and expose them for the racists that they are. So she's already got her life mapped out. She's just going to be a professional racial resentment person for the rest of her life. Instead of trying to improve her life and take responsibility for her own life, she's just going to go around tracking down you and me and explain to the world what bad people we are. And I guess the weird punchline is there's a lot of people in the market for that information. I don't know why the cigar won't stay lit.
Yeah, and they're useless too. I mean, if you spend years in university studying stuff that's not even based in reality, it's just an ideology. So it's a distorted version of reality. So, and it's just theoretical stuff, and it's just nonsense anyway.
Then you come out with $100,000 in student debt because you've been studying fairy tales. Wow, that's a recipe for some major resentment.
Yeah, you're paying someone else to help you mess up your own life.
Yeah, we can do that quite well without the help. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. When did you notice then? I mean, the book came out. The first book came out 2013. At the end of 2013, White Girl Bleed a Lot. Was that like? When did you notice things start getting really crazy with this whole victimization culture? Because I noticed as well, especially in the last 10 years and living overseas, coming back to Ireland, it seems to have ramped up. This whole victimization thing, and that's where the chaos is coming from. Like, when did you notice things getting particularly mad?
See, I don't know the answer to that question. I know when I parachuted into the middle of it, and I don't know if I parachuted in midstream, beginning, and I don't know. All I know is that when I started looking at it, it was there, big time, along with the denial, deceit, and delusion. And so I don't really, I try again. To me, when people start talking history, like when my brother's a liberal, I'm not. So we would do this talk radio show together, and I would just pummel him all for 3 hours a day, just pummel him. And every time I had him in the corner, I was, beating the hell out of him on the air. He would try to deflect. And his favorite deflection was history. In 1492, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. All these things are just deflections to turn away from what is happening right in their face. That's why I don't do the history. So when people say, well, what was it like before? All of a sudden, I'm talking about history, and I'm not talking about 500 black people rampaging through Chicago without a word from the black mayor, the black chief of police, or the black district attorney, or the black newspaper columnist. So that to me is important. The history, the sociology, all those other things, they're not really that important to me. So I'm trying to just keep my position as a guy who I don't put myself out here as the genius who sees the only guy seeing this. No, I put myself out here as the guy, the regular guy who just sees what everybody else sees and says the obvious about it.
Yeah. And we have to keep doing so. That's the key. And as we actually come towards the end here, Colin, tell us about, you mentioned the books. Do you have any ideas for, I know you're going to keep going with the videos. Do you have any ideas for the titles of the books so far? Is that kind of boxed off you?
No, the one book will be, It's Not Our Fault You Can't Fight. That'll be about people's personal experience of black violence. The other one will be something like my 25 favorite hoaxes. I love hoaxes. So over here in the States, this is a regular thing. There'll be a high-profile case. A black person will say, some white people beat me up, or a white person burned a cross on my lawn, or a white person did this, white person did that. All of a sudden, like Jussie Smollett, you've heard, did that story make it across the Atlantic? Jussie Smollett.
But remind me again, what was this one?
Okay, this is huge here about 2 months ago. He's a big television star. He's like the third lead on a very popular TV show with black people in it. He's black and he's gay, young guy. He's in Chicago. He'll always come back to Chicago. He's in Chicago a couple months ago, and he calls the cops and he said, 2 white guys wearing Donald Trump hats, Make America Great Again hats, they just beat me up They poured bleach on me and they put a noose on my neck. Everybody, everybody got a piece of that. It was like, oh my God, we can't let that happen. No. And people on CNN were going, shaking my damn head, 2019. Oh no, not, It came out really, really quickly. Like in 2 weeks, it was a hoax. Okay, a hoax.
Wow.
And complete hoax. And it's funny, but to me, the hoaxes are important because they demonstrate how eager reporters are and public officials are to take these fairy tales without one iota of proof, just like Jussie Smollett's story. So I think these hoaxes are really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they're the smoking guns. They let us know what the system is up to, and it's so typical and predictable as well how they do it. And there'll probably be more of them. The way I see it, we're in an ideological warfare. We're in information wars all across the world, and I think stuff like that may continue. You may see more of them, and
you're talking about information wars. It's amazing. I mean, the people that are on the other side of this information war, they kind of remind me of the person from that old joke. I'll just give you the punchline. You probably know the joke. Who are you going to believe, me or your own lying eyes?
Oh, yeah. Richard Pryor.
What's that?
Richard Pryor, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, something. Yeah. And I remember this one story. It was in Milwaukee. There's a holiday in June called Juneteenth. That's the day that Black people heard that slavery had ended. Juneteenth. So in Milwaukee, northern Midwest, they have every June 15th, they have a big parade of Black people in Milwaukee. And so this is often the occasion of large-scale Black mob violence. So anyway, this one day, it was really crazy. They had all this video. People were attacking police horses, fighting cops, lots of violence in this parade. And in this one case, we saw all these videos of 1,000 Black people rampaging up a street, stopping cars, pulling people out of the cars, beating the hell out of them. So there's this reporter, they do their stories in front of the green screen, So in the back, so this reporter's going, it was a great Juneteenth parade today. Everybody had a lot of fun, except for, a few people who ruined it. And while he's saying just a few people were involved, on the green screen, filling over his shoulder, is a picture of 1,000 Black people rampaging through Milwaukee, pulling people out of their cars and beating the piss out of them. That's the kind of thing we see every day. It's like we're confronting them with the difference between their fairy tale and the reality that they want to believe in, and the reality that we find very, very easy to present to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got to just keep knocking on the door and keep pushing away, and just giving the opposite of what the mainstream media is doing. And I think we're gathering momentum. I think that's the important thing in trying to pull in more people. Now, what pisses me off, or makes me worry slightly, is I don't like the fact that YouTube or any other globalist or whatever leftist entities have so much hegemony over what we do. And they have the ability to pull people down like you. I mean, I bet they didn't even give you like this succession of strikes, was it? They
gave me some strikes, but it didn't matter. Here's what I learned in YouTube. Once you get one strike, that basically means two more are coming really quickly. And the YouTube, all these algorithms, they're secret. We don't know what's in them. But once you find yourself on the wrong side of that algorithm, you just better find another way to get your message out. I don't have any problem with that, but it really is important that people know what YouTube is really like.
Yeah, maybe the way forward then is kind of focusing on the website and using some other video platforms and kind of integrating them. That's what I'm looking into.
So I use minds.com. I found that's the best alternative to YouTube right now. Better than Vimeo, way better than Vimeo, because they don't censor you. So you don't get, the great thing about YouTube is the audience. So when you do a video on YouTube, if enough people like it, that'll go into the suggested video rotation, right? That's where the audience is. That's the secret sauce of YouTube, the suggested videos. So we don't get that. But all that means is this, that you and I have to take more responsibility for building our own audience. That's why I encourage people to go to colinflaherty.com, sign up for my email, because it's like we can be separated at any time on all these platforms. But they cannot separate us if you're on my email list.
Mm-hmm.
People are eager to do it. You know what they're also eager to do? They're also eager to support people like you and me by sprinkling a few pennies or pounds or quid, whatever the expression is in Ireland, in our little begging bowl every now and then. People like being a part of it.
Yeah. Well, certainly there's a lot of discussion here about the RTE news, the state broadcaster. People pay TV license fees here. That goes towards running that organisation, and they're about as leftist as you can get. And they're pumping all sorts of trash out there, and so we could use the money better, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Well, to finish up then, Colin, just give us the website again, and just tell us about the give us the books again, and yeah, just to kind of pitch it all once more.
Everything you need to know, you can find at colinflaherty.com. Do I need to spell that for this audience?
No, you'd be okay. No, that's one of ours.
I'm easy to find. My videos are easy to find. My books are easy to find. And when I first started doing this, my books, I'm sorry to keep going on here, but my books, I thought it was a media story, right? I thought it was a story about we're going to expose these reporters who can't get the story right. And it is that. But my viewers and readers, they morphed it into another story as well. They morphed it into a story of personal safety. I started getting all these letters going, Colin, you saved my life. Because of you, I did this. Because of you, I knew that. Because of you, I moved my parents out of there. Because of you, this happened. And so it's really, there's so many levels to this story. And I just let the people find their own level, whatever, level they want to find it on.
Yeah, well, Colin, it's noble work. It's always noble to tell the truth, and long may it continue. And yeah, best of luck setting up the new books as well. And I look forward to watching more of the videos as well. So yeah, just keep doing what you do.
Muchas gracias, señor.
Thanks for watching Resolving Reality. That was my conversation with Irish-American author Colin Flaherty. And don't forget to check out Colin's website, colinflaherty.com, using that link in the description. Support Resolving Reality on YouTube, share those videos and subscribe, and also check out the Resolving Reality Radio podcast episodes as well. For all our other profiles and platforms, visit our website, resolvingreality.com. So once again, thanks for watching. Until next time, and enjoy Resolving Reality.